Have you ever wondered what went wrong during an intense conflict with your partner? Projective identification deals with the concept of what we do with our feelings, thoughts, or the part of ourselves that we cannot tolerate. The concept was coined by Melanie Klein in 1935 and further developed by various psychoanalysts such as Bion, Klein, and Ogden. In this video, we will try to simplify the concept of projective identification proposed by Ogden in his paper called On Projective Identification. So to understand projective identification, let's imagine our mind as a theater stage with various characters such as caregivers, punitive authorities, angry enemy, and so on. We play out different roles and scenarios with various people in our lives. There are roles that we are comfortable playing, and there are roles that really make us feel uncomfortable. When we experience feelings, thoughts, or the qualities that we find intolerable, our tendency is to take those emotions, thoughts, or qualities and assign them onto someone else, like a character in a play on a mental stage. This is a psychological defense mechanism called projection. For instance, if we are uncomfortable with anger, we say, "Okay, Steve, you will be the angry one. I'm not angry." At this phase, Steve felt a bit odd and out of character. We are telling him that he is angry, but he may feel that his costume and script does not fit with what we are saying. Projective identification takes this a step further. We also handed over the script and costume to Steve, and he ended up actually feeling and acting out those roles that we projected on him. Now the real drama begins. Steve began to act in accordance with the angry role that we project on him. Then we say, "Aha, you see? You are the angry one, exactly like I expected." In other words, we not only place our emotions or qualities onto someone else, but we make them feel and behave as if they are those things. Consequently, we begin to see the other person solely as a new role we casted upon them, significantly tainting our perspective about them. Therefore, if unchecked, projective identification can lead to misunderstanding and breakups in relationships. So let's look at a real-life example to illustrate this point. Imagine a couple named Alex and Susan. Alex grew up in an environment where intimacy is risky. Whenever he reaches out to his parents for warmth and affection, his attempts were faced with rejection. Thus, since young, he learned to banish his intimacy and fear of rejection. In his current relationship, whenever Susan talks about leaving for work, the experience uncovers his need for intimacy and fear of rejection. This is intolerable for Alex's conscious mind. As a result, he would begin to act cold towards Susan. He would ignore her texts or cancel their plans last minute. Of course, this happened outside of Alex's awareness. When Susan began to text him more to get his attention, he would get annoyed and began to see Susan as needy. So, Alex avoided Susan even more, leaving Susan with much anxiety about abandonment and rejection. In this case, as we can see, Alex's need for intimacy and fear of rejection was placed onto Susan through interpersonal pressure. Susan consequently ended up feeling those anxiety about abandonment and acting if she is the needy one in the relationship. Alex ultimately broke up with Susan, complaining that he could not stand her neediness. So does this mean that all partners of Alex are doomed to be like Susan? Fortunately, no. Ogden further stated that because people have their own psychology and background, other people in Alex's life may not respond to Alex's projective identification as Susan does. For instance, after Alex and Susan broke up, he started seeing another woman named Tracy. Tracy similarly took occasional business trips, and in response, Alex would act cold towards Tracy. Initially, Tracy felt rejected and abandoned, but she was able to keep in touch with part of herself that is lovable. Slowly, she was able to not take those things personally with Alex. While she was on a trip, she would occasionally send texts to Alex, updating him about her job. At the same time, she did not expect Alex to reply to all her texts. In a way, Tracy was able to give Alex space and safety of consistency for him to slowly process his need for intimacy and fear of rejection. One day when Tracy was away on a work trip, Alex felt that he missed Tracy and did not want her to leave. He felt vulnerable and was uncomfortable at the sight of his need for intimacy. But he felt safe enough with Tracy that he was able to talk to her about how her travels made him feel. Instead of being defensive, Tracy was able to validate his feelings, remembering how uncomfortable she felt when she was initially rejected by Alex's cold shoulder. This conversation further deepens their relationship. As we can see from the second scenario, projective identification can be instrumental in working through our past traumas and conflicts with the right person, such as a caring therapist or a loving partner. When we see that our partner or therapist is able to process the projective feeling that we perceived as intolerable, we begin to internalize that these feelings may not be as scary as we initially thought. Another metaphor for this process is that an interaction between mom and an infant. When the infant has difficulty digesting and eating solid food, mom would chew to smaller pieces that the infant can take in. Similarly, in projective identification, the therapist can digest projective intolerable feelings, modify them, and return them back to the patient for internalization. Through this process, the patient learns to make peace with his feelings, thoughts, and part of himself that he finds intolerable. In summary, projective identification is inevitable in every relationship, as we all have feelings, thoughts, or part of ourselves that make us feel uncomfortable. Because projective identification is largely unconscious, it can be difficult to detect and serve as a foundation for misunderstanding. However, it can also be the road of healing, as working through the process with an understanding partner or a caring therapist can help us regain vulnerable parts of ourselves. Okay, that's good enough for now. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments section down below how projective identification has played a role in your life. We'd love to hear from you. If you found this topic helpful, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to see more topics in our future videos. As always, have a great day and we'll catch you in the next video.